Hello, I'm your host Ummar Jamal, and today I'm going to share with you an interview which I have had with a drug user. But before going to interview, I would like to share with you a few important things. You must know that drug addiction is neurobiological disease. Its soaring rate is alarming. After petroleum and arms, the drug trade is third largest business in the world. According to latest World Drug Report 2019, 35 million people worldwide suffer from drug use disorders. Kashmir is also moving rapidly towards this menace. It is estimated from a survey conducted by United Nations Drug Control Program that there are approximately 70,000 people in Kashmir who are drug addicts. This number would have increased by thousands hitherto. Though thousands of people, especially youth, are trapped in this menace, but there are only 2 drug addiction centers in the entire valley of Kashmir. One being run by JK Police and another by an NGO which makes effective treatment and fructifying counseling of the affected impossible. At this juncture of time, we need to take immediate measures to uproot this menace from our society. Concrete steps need to be taken to avoid passing of this disease from one generation to the next. In this video, I will share with you an interview which I had taken from a drug user who narrates his horrible tale with tearful eyes. I entreat people of Kashmir, especially youth, that please stay away from drugs because it really ruins one's life. The drug user was foaming at mouth when I had interaction with him. Today he was not sad because he didn't get the drugs, but he wanted to turn a new leaf in his life. He was pretty bummed up and said, "Drug addiction seemed to me a Herculean task." This is how our interaction began. I posed my first question to him, "How were you introduced to drugs?" Heaping a sigh, he replied in a pitiful tone, "Once upon a time, I used to be free of drugs. Even I was a brilliant student. But soon after completing my elementary education, I lost my way. I would go to school and return home with his classmates living nearby his house. Sometimes while returning to home, some of our classmates would smoke cigarettes to look cool and seem tough. They insistently tried to coax me to smoke. Initially, I turned down the idea of smoking, but eventually succumbed to peer pressure. My first experience of smoking made me feel that I am co-equal to my friends. Subsequently, whenever I was offered to smoke cigarettes by friends, I would smoke cheerfully. As the time passed, I became habituated with cigarettes. Until 10th standard, cigarette smoking had become my need. After passing 10th class, I came into contact with new friends. They consumed cannabis. One day, I took few puffs of cigarette loaded with cannabis. Later, using cannabis became my routine. When I first time smoked cannabis, I had sheer confidence that I can give it up at any point of time. But I was wrong. I was totally wrong. Now I tried my level best to shun this, but it doesn't spare me. My second question to him was, "Which drugs do you consume?" He replied, "I routinely consume cannabis and brown sugar. Seldom liquor also if I get it from somewhere. But Kashmiri youth use SR solution, inhalants like Fevicol, shoe polish, thinners, erasers, etc. apart from cannabis and brown sugar." I asked him, what are the potent causes, what are the main causes behind drug addiction among youth? He said, "I think curiosity is the potent cause of drug addiction. Every person in youth is curious to test and taste new things. Similarly, peer pressure, bad company, and easy availability of drugs are other important cause of drug addiction in youth. In my case," he said, "bad company proved devastating. Bad company corrupted by good morals." I asked him, "Now if you yourself believe that drug addiction is very wrong and it ruins one's life, why don't you stop taking drugs?" He said, "Stopping taking of drugs disrupts my life completely. It renders me short-tempered and pugnacious. I become restless. At that time, the only thing I want is drugs, nothing else. After consuming drugs, I become calm. It works as tranquilizer for me. It detached me from reality of life." I asked him, "Do you want to give up drugs?" He said, of course, yes. Even I tried many times to shun it, but I couldn't do it for a long time. I stopped taking drugs for some time, but eventually resorted to use of it. I am feeling frustrated how to get out of this menace. It engulfed my life, reputation, and everything. I have now become completely dependent on it. Now, drug addiction is to me, drugs are to me, in fact, what fuel is to car. I asked him, have you consulted a doctor for drug addiction any time? He replied, I feel ashamed of my addiction. It is stigmatic. I feel hesitant to share my problem with my parents and relatives. I never plucked courage to share this problem with my parents or relatives. So that is why I didn't, develop this secret of drug addiction to my parents or to my relatives, and didn't consult any doctor. But if any doctor can cure this ailment of mine, I would be tickled pink for that. My last question to him was, do you have any message for youth of Kashmir? And he gave a beautiful message, and I request every youth of Kashmir should take a lesson from this message. He said, I would just say that consumption of drugs ruins life. It is degradation of soul and deprivation of honor. Most importantly, I would like to say to youth that don't entangle yourself in test and taste illusion. The person who tastes drug is the person who later wasted his life. He said, stay away from drugs, stay safe. This was his wonderful message.